Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm going for 2 videos in one day today because I'm at work and I'm really bored. So anyway, today I'm going to do a video about the Miamisburg Mound. Usually I try to research Florida mounds, but I like to also research other mounds. But while doing a Miami, Florida search, this came up. So this gigantic mound is in Montgomery County, Ohio. It says on the bottom of this picture, this tumulus situated in Montgomery County, Ohio, is typical of the Adena culture. It is slightly under 70 feet in height. It is the largest conical mound in Ohio, and with the exception of the Grave Creek Mound at Moundsville, West Virginia, it is the largest of all the conical burial mounds. So, yes, this thing is freaking huge. That's the view from looking down from the top. And I'll tell you, if you've ever been on some of these mounds, like the one at Crystal River that I went to was freaking so high up there. And the view, 360 view, is just amazing. You could just picture like all the Indians there, the Native Americans gathering, and little fire pits and drums going and teepees and whatever the heck else they were doing. But I could see a huge gathering at a place like this. It's just absolutely magical. So yeah, there's the mound. From the top, it looks like a spaceship. That's an old drawing of one. You could see there was still trees on top that took many years to grow. And let's see, that's an aerial shot. Another little picture drawing. And that's a good one to get like a size estimate. Looks almost very pyramidal from that angle. There's baby Buddha for an art project. Okay, so there's the mound. Let's close this down. And all right, so let's see if I can move this over. All right, Miamisburg Mound. This was written in 2014. No one knows their name. They left no written record. Today we call them the Adena culture, and we know they had a thriving civilization in Ohio between 1000 BC and 200 BC. They built hundreds of earthen mounds, probably as part of a funeral ritual. The largest of these mounds is 65-foot tall mound situated on a hill overlooking the Miami River in Miamisburg, Ohio. So there it is back less than 10 years ago, covered with lots of grass, just like the ones here in Florida. So yeah, there's another view from across the street. The mound was partially excavated and a bark-covered skeleton was discovered. The Miamisburg Mound has never been fully explored, so they say. Other Adena sites have yielded pottery, bone, and flint tools and jewelry made of shells or copper. The Adena had permanent villages and subsisted through both hunting and agriculture. Today, the Miamisburg Mound is located in a park of the same name. The park features blah, 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 and steps to the top of the mound built by the CCC during the Great Depression. Okay, so that's looking up the stairs. Another shot, probably the same one, looking down. Got a picnic area. Okay, while we were there, much of the mound was covered in flowering thistles. and beyond them the Mound Golf Course, which of course is where they always cover up the rest of the mound, so it makes total sense. And the mound is built on top of a 100-foot hill. From the top of the mound is a view of the surrounding area. Many of the nearby sites are named after the mound, including the Mound Science and Energy Museum across the street, the adjacent Mound Golf Course, and the Mound Advanced Technology Center. The Research and Development Park is located on the former site of Mound Laboratories, which developed the fuse for the first nuclear bombs as part of the Manhattan Project. So who knows what the heck is buried under there and what they built upon. During the ensuing Cold War, it continued to be active in the development of nuclear weapons, but it has since been disbanded. So there you go. That's it for that. All right, so let's get to the article. And this is from the Dallas Morning News, 1898. Let me move this over. Skeleton older than Adam. Its discovery starts a fierce discussion in the Miami Valley. Supposed to be a mound builder. The ponderous jaws, orbital plates, and queer facial angles are a study for scientists. Okay, when I first read this, I thought it was talking about Miami, but then I saw the little O and looked it up, and it was Miamisburg, Ohio. December 24th, a discovery of the greatest scientific interest was made when the pickaxes of Edward Gebhardt and Edward Kaufman of this place disturbed the long repose of a skeleton that had been buried for no one can tell how many thousands of years. The body that once proudly strode the earth, possessed of the living strength of a giant, with the bones just found for its framework, was surely not of a race of which history has given us any record. So come on, these guys have probably seen so many people pass away in their lifetimes. Life was hard back then. They know the difference between a regular human structure and that of an immense one. The skeleton is that of a human being who in life must have been of immense size. The face is almost gorilla-like in its angularity, the jawbones are tremendous, and the teeth have been pronounced by a local dentist, Dr. Huron, to be as strong and perfect as any as he has ever seen. So, yeah, in the little Wikipedia thing, it says that there was a skeleton found, but they don't give you any of these details. A number of local practitioners, among them Dr. Blossom, Dr. Weaver, Dr. Bookwalter, and Dr. Schuler, have examined the bones, and they unanimously agree that the find is no less important a one than the skeleton of a prehistoric man who undoubtedly was one of the mound builders, the relics of whose sojourn in the Miami Valley have been so eagerly sought after by archaeologists all over the country. So they're out there looking for them, even back in the 1800s. The splendid condition of the teeth has caused the doctors to conclude that the prehistoric man was a root eater, for no masticator of meats would have retained to the estimated age of the man the perfect molars with which the jaws are fitted. The skull itself is like no skull that any living man carries around on his shoulders, in that it is of extraordinary size and contour, with the massive jawbones, strongly marked orbital plates, and odd fascia angles. The face would present a striking appearance would it be restored by an artist in wax. So they know what's going on. The discoverers of the skeleton were digging grave in a pit about a half-mile from the town when the pick of Edward Gebhardt struck the skull. A careful investigation by the two men, who from previous discoveries of mound builder relics knew enough of the importance of the find to at once set about unearthing the skeleton, revealed the rest of the bones, forming an almost complete skeleton. The body has evidently been buried in a sitting posture, for the knees were drawn up and the head had fallen between them. Beside the skeleton was a small flat stone about 3 inches long and 2 inches wide, with a hole drilled through one end, apparently for the fitting of a handle. The use of this stone is not apparent to the local scientists. Some think it was a charm buried with the body. That's what I think. While others believe it to be the weapon of the dead man. Although why such a giant as this prehistoric individual evidently was should carry so unimposing a club is a question. It is important that this stone, so clearly fashioned by hand, was found in close proximity to the skeleton, for it settles at once all doubts as to whether the great skull originally adorned the body of a man or of a mammoth monkey. At present, the bones are on exhibition here. They are serving as a star attraction, for the people are very proud of the fact that once in this neighborhood there lived a race of prehistoric giants who erected the largest earth mound in the country and then disappeared, leaving behind them fragments of stone, pieces of pottery, and woven cloth made of bark to show that they once were the owners of the valley. How long ago this was, where the mound builders originally came from, what they look like, whether or not they will be proven someday to have been the long looked for link between man and the lower animals, are questions that the residents of this locality would like above all things have some scientists decide. The discovery of the skeleton with its peculiar shaped skull will prove of great service in the investigation so far as it concerns the appearance of the mound builders. The whole question of man's first appearance on the earth is being fiercely discussed since a skeleton was found. Those who base their belief on the Bible are arrayed against the men of science who point to the researchers of Butcher de Perthes, Falconer, and Prestwich in support of the assertions that man has lived here for thousands of years longer than Holy Writ would seem to admit. The implements found hereabouts, it is pointed out, must have far antedated the period of the flood. Again, the scientists say, there is the evidence of Agassiz, who declares that part of Florida is built of coral reefs that must have taken 133,000 years to form. The finding of human remains at a certain depth convinced this latter writer that these Florida bones had been buried not less than 10,000 years. That's what I can't understand. Okay, so why would they say something about the Florida coral reefs that must have taken 133,000 years to form, and then in the next sentence they say that these Florida bones have been buried not less than 10,000 years, unless that's the work of the Agassiz guy that they're talking about, but I just can't figure that out. If you know, please let me know. So, of course, there are people so hard to convince of the truth of anything, that's for sure, that is contrary to their early teaching, that the rhetorical arguments of the local scientists are thrown away on them. But a majority of the people here believe that the recent find is that of a man who was buried thousands of years before the Bible era. Okay, so that's it for that one, and I'll see you next time.